7 billion is how many people that's on the planet Earth. Okay? There's 7 billion with a B, ma'am. Billion. That's a lot of zeros. All right, ma'am? 7 billion. Now let's just split that number in half. Let's just say there's 3.5 billion with a B men. Let's just throw out a billion of them. Let's just say that there's a billion Build-A-Bears. Okay? We're going to throw them in the trash. They're going to be thrown on the island of nobody wants them. Okay? That still leaves 2.5 billion men that are available. Ma'am, how many men do you want? Y'all are looking for just one. Y'all looking for your soulmate. Your divinely selected soulmate that God has already selected for you. Now, understand, every one of you has more than one soulmate. And when you use this information, this is going to even speed up you attracting your soulmate. One. That's it. You don't even need all the men to be right. Just one. Okay, ma'am? Just one. Y'all are just looking for one. That's it. And I promise you, if you can just understand what it is that I'm saying to you, then you'll realize that it's really not that hard. Men are showing their cards, okay? They're running scared. And so this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to teach you the science. I'm going to teach you how to use it to your advantage. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Now, 2 questions that we're going to start off with. The first one is, why is dinner the worst thing you can do for the first date? Okay? How it will sabotage you. It will sabotage you from a long-term committed relationship. I'm going to explain that. Okay? And the science behind why. Now, about why is it that going to dinner on the first date sabotages you? Okay? Now, check this out. I saw this girl's TikTok. All right? Now, listen to me, y'all. Listen to me. Because so many women are doing this and you're sabotaging yourself. Now, I say, listen. Whether if you like it, I love it. All right? I'm here to help you. My success rate is at 98%. Women come from all over in order to be able to get my help. So I'm not going to be offended if you don't want to take this advice or not. But I'm telling you, ma'am, it will work to your advantage. I promise. Now, there was this woman that's on Tickety Tockety, and she did a video on how she was on the dating app. Okay? And she must be like in her 30s. And a man who is 56 or in his 50s said that, hey, I'm interested in taking you out. Can we meet for coffee? And she says to the man, I don't do coffee. I'm definitely not doing coffee with a 56-year-old. Like, I'm just not doing that. Like, I feel like, if I'm going to go out with a 56-year-old, then it needs to be dinner. It's just not going to be coffee. And I'm like scratching my non-edges, okay, because they trying to grow in, but they ain't there. And so I'm scratching skin, clearly. And I'm trying to make it make sense. All right? Because the math wasn't quite mathing. Her video wasn't quite turning the dial that she was trying to turn or prove. It sounded like she was proving his point, because he said, well, listen, it's nothing personal. It's just that I don't really know you, and I want to be able to sit down and get to know you to see if it's worth it before we move forward, and we can keep it like short and just basically sit down and get to know each other. And she was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, you're 56. I mean, basically, if I'm going to settle for you, you're going to at least take me to dinner. If I'm going to even consider a 56-year-old, then you're going to take me to dinner. So she's basically saying, my only desire for an older man is financial gain. And if you're not willing to feed me, because clearly she's hungry, then I don't have any need for you. So yeah, you're right, sir. You're right to have concerns about being used. You have concerns, but I'm one of those women. You're talking to that kind of woman. And he's like, basically, you're telling me you're a gold digger, which I don't like that word. But it was the most ignorant post that I had seen today. Okay? Because somebody always surpasses the ignorance. And this is what the good lady did not understand is that it's very clear to me why she was still single. Like, literally, I could see her whole energy. I could see why she was still single. I could see why she attracted men that were dysfunctional relationships, men who didn't really see her, men who didn't value her. I completely saw exactly why. We're going to stick a nail in that, okay? Now, per the statistics, first of all, you need to decide what type of man you want and what type of relationship. If you guys end up in a relationship, where do you want it to go? Where do you want it to go? Do you want it to just go to be a sexual relationship? Do you want it to go where you're just boyfriend, girlfriend for a short period of time? Or do you want it to go to be a long-term, fulfilling, happy marriage? Like, where do you want it to go? Because women oftentimes date for the short term. They're not thinking the way I start is the way I will finish. They don't understand that the way you set a man up from the beginning will also determine how this man shows up as a husband to you once the relationship moves forward into marriage. So if you are looking for a long-term healthy relationship, then ma'am, you have to think smart and you have to think long-term. You have to think that you want this man to be so into you. Remember, the old folks used to say all the time, make sure that your husband's into you 3 times more than you're into him. How many of you guys have heard that? Raise your hand. Yes or no? How many? I'm gonna get to this whole false idea that coffee is low effort, okay? Just follow me for a second. How many of you guys have heard the adage that old folks will say that your husband needs to be into you 3 times more than you're into him because of the nature of a man, okay? So in order for you to get that man, in order to be into you, then you have to trigger vasopressin and dopamine. You got to trigger his bonding hormone. And you got to be able to allow the courting phase to go out long enough while he maintains interest so that his vasopressin receptors can be produced. In order to trigger vasopressin, ma'ams, this is what you have to have. You have to have CAP. Okay? Put it in the chat. C-A-P. You got to have CAP. You got to trigger curiosity, anticipation, and polarity. In order for you to have this man produce the vasopressin. Now, in order for you to trigger that curiosity, ma'am, then that means that you have to slow down your natural biochemical process, how your body's designed for you to fall as fast as possible. The more time you spend with a man, especially in the beginning, the faster a woman produces oxytocin. The more she produces that oxytocin, the more it shuts down your frontal discerning region of your brain, ma'am, and the more likely you are to miss the red flags. Also, the more likely you are to trust him, the more likely you are to want to spend time with him, the more likely you're going to move too fast with him, which completely sabotages all 3. Curiosity, anticipation, and polarity. Polarity is your feminine energy level must be a 7 or higher. This is polarity, ma'am, okay? These are 2 magnets, right? The black is the negative. The red is the positive end. This is everything in nature has a positive and a negative end. Everything. All right? Your feminine energy, think of it as the positive end. The negative end, masculine energy. Your feminine energy must be a 7 or higher in order for this to happen. The higher your feminine energy, the stronger the polarity. Okay? If you're a 5, it needs to be higher. 7 is not even good enough, but it's a minimum. Okay? It's a starting. You really want to aim for a 10. All right, you want to aim for a 10. This is polarity. This is polarity. This is what makes this man want to stay with you for life. This is what makes him shut down any desire to be with any other woman. This is what makes him like he's hooked on you. Like he wants you, he's sexually attracted to you, he's turned on by you mentally. The polarity. Now, a lot of times in the society that we exist in, women have been brainwashed to operate in her masculine energy. Besides the fact that women don't feel too safe nowadays, for multiple reasons, then it has driven a lot of women in their masculine energy. Women have been bamboozled to think like a man, act like a man, work like a man, and date like a man. So it has been driving her biochemistry for her to make more testosterone, which has driven up her cortisol. Because when a woman is imbalanced and her testosterone is too high, then it drives up her cortisol. It drives down her estrogen. So it's harder for her on her body. A low estrogen level increases the risk of diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, weight gain, vaginal dryness, ma'am, mental fog, fatigue, stress, unhappiness. You name it, it's all of that. Okay? It's not worth it. When you choose a Build-A-Bear who's in his feminine energy, it drives up your testosterone. It drives you into your masculine energy. So what you want to do is you want to be more on your feminine energy, because when you're in your feminine energy, you're going to attract that man that's in his masculine energy, his healthy masculine. And healthy masculine isn't, he just has big muscles, he's tall, chiseled chin, and he's beating on his chest and talking about, you need to submit to me. That's not a masculine man, okay? I saw this woman with this ridiculous video talking about a woman needs a man who's a double alpha. I need a double alpha because he needs to be able to handle me. Like, you mean handle you like sit, Sparky, sit, handle? Like, what exactly are we talking about? Because if you want a man to be your romantic best friend, if you want this man to be your romantic best friend, then you're not going to put him on a pedestal for him to control and dominate you. I don't need to be handled. What I want is I want a best friend. I want somebody that I can co-create with, okay? I want somebody that I can build with. I want somebody who can respect my opinions. I want somebody who can see me, not somebody who thinks that he got all the answers and he needs to handle me. Like, what are we? Okay? I didn't know we was puppies up in this piece.